and welcome back to my channel Elucidate. And guys, today we are going to do a very important topic, which is like demo of Testng annotations. So onto this particular lecture, guys, like in my previous lecture, what we did is that we tried to understand what is Testng, why to use it, who created it, some annotations that were being used onto Testng. We also covered what was the difference between a library and a framework as well, guys. We did a deep dive discussion over there, and now we are starting the actual lecture, that is how we are going to make use of Testng in our daily life, right? So that we are able to understand and we are able to play with all the annotations that are available onto this particular testing framework, right? But in order to proceed ahead, guys, we need to first understand how to install it, right? This would be the first step of my lecture, right? But let me just allow me to go through the entire thing that we'll be discussing. The very first thing that we'll be discussing is that we would be building a Maven project, with the help of which we are going to configure our Testng, right? Second thing, we are going to understand what is annotation again, right? A little bit deep dive we'll do into that, and so that you guys are able to understand what is annotation and why you need to understand it, because there was an interview question that was particularly asked to me in one of my MNC kind of interview, and they asked me just two queries with respect to Testng. The very first was that guy asked me that, Abhinav, just tell us the actual reason of using annotations, and why can't we directly make use of comments? So, so those who do not know, or those who do not have a deep dive knowledge about difference between comments and annotations, uh, it might seem to you at the very first sight that this is what kind of question is even this. But guys, it makes sense. I mean, the more you go inside a particular thing, you'll be able to understand better. I'll tell you everything, right? Answer, you will, everybody would laugh in the end, right? Okay. And so this would be my second thing after annotation, and the third thing would be I would be giving you guys the entire demo of each and everything that is mentioned onto this particular bracket, right? And on my second lecture we'll be discussing about at before groups, after groups, factory listeners, parameters, add data provider, add ignore. So we are going to discuss all these annotations, right? But for today, the very first thing, how to make use of Testng. Second thing, what is annotation, and this interview question that was asked in MNC, I'll discuss with you guys. And these are all the things that we will be covering, not each and every one, but mostly which are mostly used by the software testers or the automation testers in the testing industry, as a software testers. We will be discussing each and every one, I mean mostly, right? So guys, without wasting any more time, because I know your time is very important, guys. So let's get back to the lecture, right? Okay. So in order to use Testng framework, guys, first of all, you should be having that particular piece of software, or that particular piece of a file, so that you can make use of it, right? So in order to make use of it, I'll quickly demo you how to use Testng, right? So for that, guys, I have opened up my Eclipse over here. I normally make use of this Eclipse IDE, right? And let's say if you open your Eclipse for the very first time, it will somewhat look like this, totally blank. I have totally, removed everything over here. Now right click onto this particular area, click on new, and click on this project. And once you click onto that, you just need to expand this Maven and select this Maven project. Next will become enabled. Click on next and just try to click over here, like create a simple project, right? And then next, and then it will be asking you some things like what is group ID, what is artifact ID, what is the version. So in order to understand it, this is not totally this Eclipse kind of lecture, what this Maven, I mean, kind of stuff is going on. For those who want to understand it, I have totally, mentioned over here what is your group ID. It totally it uniquely identifies your project name. Let's say in your organization you have 10 different types of project for big data, project for healthcare, project for um, telecommunication. So group ID totally uniquely identifies your project, that kind of stuff. Artifact ID is your version ID, or your jar ID, which you have been making use of it. I mean, it is written over here, you can just go through it. Normally what I do is, guys, I just do one thing. Let's see what I do is that I do like testing project, and I start working onto that. No need to follow all the conventions. Actually, ideally, you should follow, but I do have some time crunch today, guys. So, just in order to save some time, I'm doing this, right? It can be the same over here as well, and just click on finish. So, your Maven project gets created immediately, right? So now your Maven project is created, and under this which is your test case kind of folder, you go over there, create a particular class. Let's say class name is uh, Rahul, right? And just open it, right? So once I have created a class over here, you guys might have noticed that I am not using PSVM, that is public static void main, right? But still this program is going to execute. And how it is going to execute? It will be executed with the help of testng. So let's say this is the particular method, like public void go to future. Let's say, let's talk about some time machine kind of stuff over there, right? Let's say this is a particular function you have defined, and you have printed like I am going to 2050, right? So in order to run it, first you need to have the main method defined over there. But with the help of this testng framework, even if the main method is not defined, you can still run it with the help of at test, right? If you put this annotation at, and if you write like at test, it means that it is now a kind of test case. With the way it will be dealt with, that it will be dealt with in the form of a test case, right? So you will be writing your test case in that framework. I will give you demo, but since we are going to learn about some annotation stuff at this point of time, the only thing you need to know is that it will be used as a test case for testng. If I write add test over here, this thing will be treated as a test case. If I write add override, this method would be used like an add and override kind of stuff. But at this point of time, add test means this is a totally test case. Okay, you just need to click over here, right? But it is saying that you need to add JUnit library in order to use this annotation, or you have to like add your JUnit for I had testng, so it might be showing previous stuff, right? So you do not need to add any JUnit 4 library to the build path. Why? Let's come back to this particular lecture. What we did is that I told you guys initially that testng is a Java testing framework, and it has taken inspiration from JUnit and NUnit, right? And this is the reason why there were some deficiencies onto that. This is the reason why Cedric totally built entire testng framework, right? So that all these functionalities can be used. So you won't be, please do not do this. I have seen people doing that kind of mistake. They import JUnit library and they say that this is not working, that is not working. So I do everything with the help of clear concepts, right? So it says that add JUnit library. It is not saying me that add testng library. Why? Because testng library I have not even added, or testng has not been installed, right? So in order to get testng library, what you need to do, you need to just click over here, pom.xml, click over here, simple, right? And inside this, so guys, this is what group ID, what we defined over there, testing project. This is the artifact ID that I gave testing project, right? So instead of going through hectic process like going over here like help and then install new software or going to eclipse marketplace, you do not need to do worry about anything, that now it is getting installed or how it will take, how much time it is going to take to install it. You just need to write some dependencies over here, right? So dependencies, fine, right? And you just need to add the dependency means if you add that particular dependency over here, something, I mean the code will be is dependent. So I mean any way you can think of, I mean the way I used to think is that dependency is basically meant to me was like this thing, this my code is dependent upon this testng library, so testng dependency I have to put over here. So this is the way I have taken it for my mind, right? So in order to install that particular dependency, go over here, I mean mavenrepository.com, right? Onto this particular site, if you type like maven repository. If you just Google it out, it will show you Maven repository. Click it over here. Just type testng, right? And search it. It will give you the testng. Click over there. There are n number of versions, right? But the version which I prefer most is 7.3.0 in today's date, right? Because my entire code is running onto this. You just need to copy it, guys. Just copy it out. I just copied it and just paste there. That is it. Your testng and control S. Now your testng is installed, right? Nothing. Only this much you did. We did. We just created a class and we just added this particular piece of code over there inside dependencies, and my project is ready, right? And now if I click it over here, it is now showing import test. It is giving me two options from org.testng.annotations or org.junit, or try to add JUnit library XYZ. Do not do anything, only select this option from testng annotation. Why? Because I have told you guys a number of times, right? So please do not waste my effort. Okay, so now add test means it this is totally a test case. If you just right click over here, you click at run as testng, this test case is gonna run properly. So now output has been printed over here. I'm going to 2050, this test case got passed. Go to future and everything worked well, right? So guys, this was the very basic thing, how to install or configure or how to make use of testng. I hope I have made sense. So what we did, just a quick recap. I created this particular testing project inside this test folder. I created a particular class named as Rahul. I added just a small function which is very easy to understand, and in order to run it I used testng, right? That is it. So this was all. So our first point has already been done, that is how to use testng and how we are going to install it. So we have done it with the help of a simple Maven project, right? Now quickly coming back to the second part, guys, right? So in order to go to the second part, my second part totally deals with the annotations. But first you need to understand the interview question that was being asked in one of my interviews, right? So interviewer asked me the reason of using annotation, why we make use of these annotations, why we are making not use of the comments, because annotations also provide some piece of information and comments are also providing some piece of information, right? Let's say for those who are seeing my lecture for the very first time, let's say this is my method, right? At this method, this annotation is saying that this is now is going to be considered as a test case to the compiler, right? But as a developer, what I am doing, that this is a test case. Let's say the way developers write, this is a test case which will help a person to simply go to future without any fees. Let's say any weird stuff, right? So this comment is also providing me some information about this particular thing, and this annotation is also providing me some information about this particular thing. So why annotation? Why not comments? So this was the query. I hope you guys are getting right. And now we are going to understand it. So see, one small thing, uh, a lot of discussion is required, guys, right? It takes a lot of effort, because the way I am telling you guys, like a like a baby feeding kind of stuff, nobody in your entire organization will take so much of time, guys, to give you information in a very deep manner. So what I'll do is that I'll give you demo of each and everything, so that you guys do not tends to fall into the hands of those people who really think in an organization that they are quite techy. They will speak jargons, or they will use heavy terms in front of you, and they'll make sure that you know you try to remain underconfident in your entire life, although they might not be having the exact amount of knowledge which you would be having after seeing this lecture, right? Okay, so enough of that stuff. Okay, so guys, so where it all started, you need to understand it. So from where it all started, just follow what I'm going to do. I won't take much time, already some time has already passed. So what it is written over here, like open up a notepad. So window R NOTEPAD. I've just opened it, right? And paste the below code. I'll just paste it. So guys, this code is very easy. This is nothing. This is the class Abhinav, and this is the comment I've written, right? This is the comment written by me. Anything, any stuff, right? So I can write anything in the form of comment, right? Then save it as abhinav.java. Those who know Java must be knowing what I'm trying to do is that I'm saving it onto this location, users Abhinav. So I've saved this particular file which says that this is a program with a comment above kind of stuff, right? Very simple, very easy. Okay. And now at the above mentioned location, open up your command prompt. So I will open up my command prompt, right? And I will go to that particular location where that file was saved. So that file was saved in C users Abhinav. This is my directory in which that file got saved. And now just try to compile it. Java C Java, right? So now my program has got compiled and there are no compilation error at this point of time, right? But something would have happened onto this particular place. Initially, if I now refresh it, see, this was my file, Abhinav.java file. But after compilation, this dot class got created. It was created by the compiler, right? Why compiler created it? Because compiler makes use of this particular class in order to understand. Because the contents of this class is only understandable by the compiler itself. This is not a human readable format, right? Humans won't be able to understand. Humans will be able to understand with the help of this file. If I click over there, you, me, anyone, any human being would be able to understand with the help of this file. But for compiler, this file is of no use, guys, right? For compiler, only this file is required. That is the dot class file. And in dot class file, something happens. And what happens? Try to understand. In your dot class file, your comments are totally removed by the compiler after compilation. So once I did this compilation, Java C and my file name, whatever, the comments were present over there, right? They are totally useless for JVM or compiler, guys. And compiler makes sure that they are removed after compilation. So comments are generally created by us so that we can understand what the code was all about, or sometime we need to follow some convention in our organizations, like that if you have written this piece of code, then you have to define it somewhere over there, like what this is all about, so that another developer, once you leave the organization, is able to understand what is going on over here. Okay. So this is the reason why some comments are generally written, but those comments are totally removed by the compiler after compilation. Why? Because let's say this is the file that I have created. Let's say we have 10,000 lines of code, 10,000 lines of code, in which 8,000 lines of code are just comments. So do you think is it not a wastage of memory or storage, right? This is the reason why compiler totally ignores all these lines which are written. It may happen that I have written only 3 lines of code, but in comments I have written the entire history, how it will be created, who will create it, at what point of time a hero will come and hero will develop. So n number of things I can write it at any point of time in the comment, right? So this is the reason, this is the exact reason comments are totally removed by the compiler, right? But once they are removed, and then you guys must be having one query in your mind. Let me give you a demo of that. If I try to open it, let's say I open it with notepad plus plus. So see, this file is totally non-human readable format, right? You can see abhinav.java written over there. You can see what I printed, like this is what I printed in sys. This is a program with a comment, but where is my comment? This is the comment which I wrote, written by me, but you won't be able to find this comment. Why? Because compiler has removed this thing. What it has removed, compiler has totally removed all the comments in abhinav.class file, right? Because they are of no use of them, and if it is of no use, it will be removed, right? So the comments are not there. Then what will happen? Then if the comments are removed by the compiler, then how can you make a particular method feel special? Let's say this method is a special one. This is a test case. This is not an at override. This is a test case. We want this method or this piece of code to feel special about them. How you will do that? This will not work at some point of time because compiler will remove it. So in order to make this feel special, annotations are used, and this is the real reason, guys, why annotations came into existence. I hope I have made sense by giving some demo in Notepad++ as well, guys, right? That your comments file is not there, comments are present onto your .java file. So let's read it out. This is what I've written. So if you want to tell compiler to treat some piece of code in a different manner, then the entire need of annotation arises, right? Or you want to add some extra information to class, method, parameter, package, or variables, annotations can be used. Or if you want to add some additional information for your Java source code, I mean, both these lines are the same. Class, method, parameter, package are known as your source code, right? So whenever you want to add some additional or some a special piece of information to your source code, annotations are used. And there are three types of annotations: predefined annotations. For example, at override is a predefined kind of annotation. Custom annotation we will learn for sure if I get enough comments and that you guys need some lecture onto that particular stuff as well. And meta annotations we will learn, because this is not a Testng kind of stuff. But I wanted you guys, to understand what happens to comments and what happens to annotations, and what is the difference between a comment and annotation, right? Annotation is not removed, comment, it gets removed, right? And now coming back to our main lecture, that is the second part. That's an interview question in MNC. So again, I'm reiterating. They asked me what is the actual reason of using annotation. Answer: I've told you, because the comments are totally removed by the compiler at the time of compilation, right? And in order to make that particular method, class, parameter, package feel special, annotations are being used, right? And guys, now you will be laughing that what I said, that I use both. I was overconfident at that point of time, and I said that even in front of annotation, I write my own queries, like the way I showed you this. I said that I use both. I mean, it is used. They are both the same kind of thing. So this is what blunder I did. But these are small questions, and techie guys will judge you onto this kind of stuff, right? So guys, we have covered till now two important parts, that is how to install Testng, and how or what is the use of annotations, and difference between annotation and a comment, and what happens at the time of compilation, right? And where it all started, everything we discovered over here, right? And now very soon we are going to understand, or we will discuss all these annotations one by one in a very proper and enough execution flow manner, right? But first we will understand it one by one, and then we'll discuss the flow. Okay, so guys, give me some time, I'll be back. Thank you.